Hello and welcome to another episode of the FARAD system. This is the first campaign, The Rise of the Chimeric Dominion, episode 28, Rhin's Resting Reliquary, part 2. Continuing off where we left off before, however, with just Smitty playing as Arindel, due to a lot of different things, scheduling and otherwise, that came up. You can go ahead and introduce your character and we'll jump right into it.
Hi, guys and gals. I play Arindel, otherwise known as Carmen San Diego. At this point in time, thanks to other people. So, that being said, Arindel is she's got her shit together most of the time until you piss her off. Once you piss her off, well, she comes a little unglued. That has been curbed a little bit now that we have been had our psyches modified for not hiding from the Pentaturons. To where she is more open and slightly bubbly and optimistic, and she would say dumb, but currently we are in Rhin. Is it? Mm-hmm. We found a couple of kids, would-be pickpocketers, who we taught a thing or two with somebody else's help. Gail, thank you. That almost went sideways. And they reminded me of Arindel when she was young. And so I gave them gifts. Evidently, they fucked with them a little. But bonus points. Having cool blue eyes and being able to see in the dark, under which I promptly stole that ability because hot damn, who doesn't want to see in the dark? Especially when you're a roguelike person, you're apt to be in those kinds of places. It benefits you to be able to see well in those places, as well as creating your lair of sorts in something like that. Anyways, right now, we nearly choked to death in a sandstorm. We are hiding out and getting ready to go back so we can study the ancient alien technology and stuff. And hopefully not fuck with the future too much. Well, in a way that doesn't fuck with my future. Everybody else's future is fine to fuck with. Right, Micah? We can fuck with everybody else's future but our own.
May have complications, but won't necessarily cause something that'll be of danger to you directly.
Right. As long as we nurture and develop in the right way and make our way to that little journey that we took and are in the same kind of state of mind and the same kind of purpose and make our loop back, all's good. Everybody else, the damned. Fuck them. Right? Fuck them. Spoils and loot and glory, man. This is fantasy roleplay. Let's raid some dungeons and stuff. Steal all the loots and break all the pots. Some people may know what I'm talking about, the pots. Some may not. Anyways. Let's study so we can invent some shit. You You don't know. We're back in time. I could have been the one to invent this stuff. And that is the exact rationale I'm going through with all of this shit with. It's already happened. How well the DM is going to allow me to stretch that little fucking thread of truth. So, on to the game.
Okay. As you take Ven-Tul and Gale, known as Tom and Ryder at present, back to Wayland's and drop them off for a bit, not knowing how long the sandstorm is going to be. Discussion briefly ensues about continuing to try to work on taming Bill and Cho, respectively, as well as working with some of Ven-Tul's clones to combat and spar with, for the sake of getting a little bit better at assorted things. And that you would leave them for some time as you try to find a way into the center of the capital of Rydarkus, Rhin, where there is the back third of the colonial ship with its engines sticking up to the sky, as well as other potential things that might be found in the city of interest and use. Among them, perhaps, more training of the young emperors who you assisted, or finding out more information about the assorted specters in the city and that mirror. And with that, you return back to the city itself and see the sandstorm is still blowing, but the city walls are high enough that as you arrive in it, the majority of the sand is slowed down to just a small amount, getting on top of the upper wall edge and falling over the side as people are shoveling it away and hauling it off to assorted glassmiths who are going to blow the heated sand into glass and assorted different accoutrements. And Wayland and Loon, Renmo, and Allnet are still looking around the marketplace at present.
What time of day is it?
It is just a little after midday.
I'll check out the markets myself.
Okay. Anything?
Being wary of little thieves, since this place is rampant.
Anything in particular you're looking for other than looking out for those?
Technology stuff. Ore, mineral, metal, crafting shit. Probably specifically like steel and copper and insulating materials. And, maybe we should build a friend. check out. You know what? Fuck it. Go check out some clothes shops. I'm wearing the same old bullshit for a while. See if we can find some accessories and especially like weapon accessories. And see if there's like a blackish market somewhere.
Okay. Let's have you first make an observation check as far as specifically just looking for the assorted parts and such, and a searching check to see if you can spot any little pickpockets. Searching is specifically reason and stealth.
So 8 to reason. Reason and stealth, so it's intellect and finesse.
Correct.
So 27. So there's a 50 to a search check. Uh, 46 to observation.
Okay. Okay. As you look around, you don't see anybody at present that's busy pickpocketing, either around you or others in the area. In fact, you don't see very many young people that are very close to the market at present, or those with more shabby clothing. You do, however, see a few individuals that are walking around with blades that have markings on them that are glowing. As you look at the assorted shops, you do come across a particular shopkeep that is selling 25 kilograms of copper and 15 kilograms of steel for 6 gold.
How many kilograms of copper?
25.
It's not a whole lot of steel. The person that has the copper and the steel, ask them, do they have any cutting torches or anything? First, ask them what they use on the ship to salvage the pieces from the ship.
What? These aren't from the center. These are from out in the desert in a cave.
No, sir. That's all well and good. I'm just curious about how they go about dismantling and cutting and salvaging that ship.
You'd have to ask at the center. I don't deal with any of that part.
Where's the center?
He just points right at the ship.
Well, fair enough. So there's no real clothes shops or anything? Accessory shops?
You do see a few here and there, but for the most part, much of what they have as far as attire in this particular market area is more or less just for fashion and local culture more than braving the wilderness or going into battle.
No real utility clothes.
There's stuff like, cloaks and robes and such that will help if you go out in a less intense sandstorm, but nothing that's what you would be looking for specifically.
Meh. Fair enough. And I go over and I pay the man. And I asked him if he's the only one that sells raw materials.
I know there's a few others that come and they sell it from time to time, but I got lucky. Most of them are still out by their mines right now.
Where are the mines right now?
Oh, you think I'd tell you where I'm getting mine from? You can ask one of them when they get in. They won't tell me either.
How often do they come in?
Usually once every 3 days or so. They probably would have been here already if they hadn't had the storm. I just happen to be lucky enough to be in first.
Is there anything interesting going on around town lately?
Yeah, it depends on what you call interesting. There's always assorted people who are getting robbed or getting beat. People going missing. Dead animals in back alleys and occasionally a body.
So it would be safe to say that I should be on my guard while I'm in town.
If you aren't doing that in every town you go into, then there's something wrong with you.
I flip the man an extra silver and I thank him for his time.
Yeah, thank you kindly for that.
Are there any authorities, maybe not so much belonging to the center, that I should watch out for?
Well, those, as you said, from the center to look out for, but also those from the caravan assault. You'll be on your guard around them. They don't take kindly to strangers poking too much in their business. And assorted other merchants who are come from the desert that make caravans together are rare to come across, but a few of the silk traders and spice traders would be wary around.
And how might I be able to distinguish the salt people?
They're the only ones that sell salt in our markets. Anyone else that tries ends up, well, them and their customers found in the desert a few days later.
Are there any local would-be authoritarian types?
Probably quite a few, but they change so often I don't keep track.
I flip him another silver, and I thank him. Is there anything in particular that you might need, sir?
Well, come to think of it, I could use a few new hires for mine, but the problem with that being that it's those that have to be blindfolded to be taken out there. Not too many are trusting in that regard.
Well, sir, in the condition that you stated the area, I don't reckon I would be too comfortable being blindfolded.
Not many would, but it's what keeps the mine's location hidden. If I had a faster means of transportation, locating from a gate or something of that sort, then it'd be a different matter, but none set up in or near the mine for me to connect to. And I don't have the skill for that particularly.
Micah, I would be able to craft an item that would link to and let him use, right?
You've specifically dealt with an item for tracking somebody and getting to them, but you would have to experiment a bit as far as being able to make it go to a specific spot, or make it so that if he wanted to bring somebody with, that they would come to him, but on his choice. It's feasible, but you haven't specifically made one before.
So, in essence, I could create something that tied an anchor to two objects, and while he would keep one here and he would take one there, and then I could build a bridge, and more or less, right? So he can go to it. Because I know I've tethered to people, so things shouldn't be that much of a stretch with practice.
It shouldn't be too much of a stretch with practice, but it's a matter of the specifics on what you choose to do, on how different it would be from what you've previously done, as well as if it's to a specific spot, he would have to lead you out to there. And if it's to him specifically, it would have to have some means that he would be able to have somebody else go to a location or have an item and then go to him later. But with him being able to know it's the right person, something of a trap if somebody else were to try and steal it or something to that effect.
But what I'm saying is I could take 2 items and create anchors on there. He could take the anchor out to where he needs it and have a fast travel like that.
Right. It would certainly work easily for him. It's a matter of him saying as far as taking others with him if he's going to go to that spot without blindfolding them. Since you've made it so that you can take somebody else with you, but you haven't done that with an item. So it's kind of mixing different parts of what you've done before to make something different.
Ask the guy what kind of metals he has.
Yeah, sort of different kinds here and there. Iron, which gets made into steel, and copper, sometimes gold and platinum, tin, some rare stuff that's occasionally present, but those are the most common kinds of metals. Sometimes sulfur and gas pockets and such that get found and bottle up in order to sell it for fuel. It varies. Sometimes there's even old relics from back when people used to live out in that area. Last one I sold of those ended up being a good thing I got it out of the mine. A few days later, the person who bought it just their house blew up. Fiddling with whatever the hell that was.
I ask him if he has any nickel or brass.
Well, there's zinc sometimes. You can make some brass with copper. As far as nickel, it's here and there, pockets of it. It doesn't tend to be of as much value, so it tends to sit in the mine until somebody puts in an order. We dig it out and bring it in.
Do you have any nickel?
There's some that's in the mine presently. I don't have any with me. As I said, it's not as highly desired.
Well, something that is not highly desired is less likely to be stolen, yes?
True.
How long would it take you to go and get it?
You'd have to be waiting until after the storm is out for that. There's no way I'm going out in there if I don't have to.
Okay, so what metals did he list off that he has currently?
He listed that he specifically does have the copper and steel. He has iron, a little bit of tin. Those are what occasionally, he says, he didn't say he has it on him, but he says occasionally we have gold or platinum as well, as also jarred gases and relics. The last 4 of those. He didn't say if he had them on him. He just simply said that he's gotten some of them from the mine.
I asked him if he has any tin with him right now.
Not a whole lot, about 3 kilograms.
Tin's fairly light, so that's a good chunk. How much for the tin?
Just a gold and a half.
Seems high for tin.
Yeah, tin is pretty useful in a lot of different things, especially in such salty air. It doesn't oxidize. While it may not be as commonly sold as copper or iron, it still has its purposes, and I do have clients that specifically request it, but I haven't had one around for a while, so I'd have a lower price than what they're charging. Normally for that they pay 2 gold, but they have their own purposes for it. That's the price they set, and I was willing to take it.
Well, I pay what he wants. I take the tin. I say I'll catch back up with you later. I put an anchor on him.
How do you come on back to Yukabo Kamu's shop anytime and see what we can do for you? And he takes your money, gives you the ore, and he thanks you graciously for the extra silver that you gave and for your business.
2 silver.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off and find a place where nobody can see me, and then take all of this back to Wayland's.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and.
One thing. Before I leave him, ask him what. Does he have a favored emblem or crest? And what is it?
Are you meaning as far as a business logo, or what do you?
Just a family crest or a business logo, crest, anything. Some marking that he's favorable upon.
Not too particularly in that regard. Just have my deed to my mine, and records are kept secured so nobody's messing with it. Copy myself as well as proof. As far as business, most of the people around here, either they know you or they don't care who you are.
Is there anything, any creature, anything that you are fond of?
Well, suppose a bit of a fondness for some micro spiders. They're a bit common in some parts of the cave.
Okay, and then I go.
Okay. Go ahead and make a, let's see, a sneak check. Observation and stealth as far as finding a specific spot that will be best useful for you.
Observation was 44. $60, 44, 102, 51.
All right. You find a few places that seem suitable at first, but then as you're about to use your ability in return, a few people walk by, and you pause and wait, make sure that there aren't any more who are coming by, and then you, after a while of people passing around, a lot seeming to be just walking out of boredom since they're not able to head out with the sandstorm blowing as hard as it is. You eventually find yourself to an area where there's hardly anybody even glancing in its direction. And it just seems to be this area that has a lot of burned out stalls and other things that are present, and a lot of tarps that are thrown over the wreckage and along some of the walls. Faint glimmer of reflected sunlight on one where the tarp isn't covering fully. And as you look around, as you had before, you see quite a few specters around the area. It does seem the living, at least, are not particularly keen to look in its direction.
Meh, use that.
Okay.
Keep wary of hoogie boogies.
All right. As you get yourself into position so that you can make sure to check and keep an eye out on the street to make sure somebody doesn't catch you out of the corner of their eye, you hear a rustling coming from the tarp where the reflection had shone brightly.
I go. I just go.
Okay. As you begin teleporting away, make a daring check. That'll be morale and learning.
Morale and what?
Morale and learning.
Learning is intelligence.
Learning is will.
Will. Isn't morale will as well?
They are, but they're two separate parts.
Right. So 39.
Okay. As you fade away, teleporting, you catch just the slightest glimpse of the wind blow, dragging the tarp back a little. And as there's a gleam of reflection, you see what looks like yourself on the ground inside a mirror before you return to the village that's near Wayland's.
I saw a glimpse of me on the ground. What?
Yes,
In the mirror?
in a mirror.
And that was not at the right angle to be doing that.
You weren't on the ground. You were crouched, but you weren't prone.
Okay. Explain that in more detail.
Okay. The mirror did not appear to be reflecting properly what you would expect to see, but it did look like it was you.
Okay, I'm freaked out. Like, yeah. Okay, that's heebie-jeebies. Arindel has an issue with reflective surfaces, and now that didn't reflect the right thing. So she's going to be very wary of that place upon return.
Okay. All right. As I said, you are in the village outside of Wayland's manor.
Now, he restored the town, and that would include the smithy and all and any supplies that might have been there.
Any that didn't have parts taken away, yes. Materials and other things like that, some of them may have been taken from people who wandered into the ruins of the village.
Mm-hmm.
Things like gold and platinum, silver. Things like iron, with how much it weighs and the fact that it's not that hard to purchase elsewhere. Copper, a bit less common that somebody would try to take that.
So I go and I find the smithy in town.
All right. And you manage to locate it without too much trouble. As you look around, you can see riders' boot prints in the mud and path of the village, and just the general faintest hint of smoke in the air and path of his boot prints before they veer off and go into a different location. You can tell he's been there at least once or twice before. So you know that it's either working or of interest rather than completely destroyed.
Okay, what do I find as far as what do I find as far as crafting materials and minerals and stuff?
Yeah. Roll that up real quick. You managed to find a kilogram of copper and 9 kilograms of iron that are there.
Okay. So I place down my bullshit here. And I move my anchor that's in town here to this spot.
Okay.
And I go about trying to make two. First, I'm going to make some bronze. I should have enough to make bronze. Got the copper and the tin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make some bronze. And bronze itself isn't intrinsically valuable, is it?
Not in this particular area. Some parts of the world it may be, but because of the fact that steel is much more prevalent now, it's not as interesting to people to purchase as used for battle as just decor.
I'm going to make 2 bronze signets, little medallions, in the styling of a spider, one of those little micro spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to shit. How do you say that? Not age it, but I forget the word.
Antique?
Yeah, antique it a bit. Dark spots and, not entirely polished up, not shiny. Nothing that can really draw attention. It's gonna be burnished. It's not gonna reflect very well at all. It's a metal, so it can reflect, but I'm going to do my best to make it so that it doesn't give off much of a reflection. And I could do that by adding umbral to it, most likely. Wouldn't you say?
I would think so.
Um, and I'm going to make a ring that specifically targets the furthest one. So if he's at the mine, it'll take him to wherever else he wants. If he's wherever else, it'll take him back to the mine. And it'll be a rune etched ring. That is going to be activated by a phrase and the passing of the finger over it.
Okay.
Also, for the ring and the two medallions, what could I add to it that would make people not want to take it? Like the opposite of greed.
Charity domain, generosity, and honesty. Perhaps to
so that people who don't own it
to say that they were trying to take it immediately when they touch it.
Yeah. And or try as well as in with that try and prevent them from taking it in general, just not wanting to take it, being overcome with honesty. It's not mine. I shouldn't touch it. And that'll go on all three items.
Okay.
So, what do you want me to do to make the items?
We'll have you do a general crafting check and forgery check because of trying to antique it a bit. And I would say a depiction check specifically because you're trying to make it look like the micro spider in terms of overall aesthetic. And smithing since it is using metal.
Crafting is what now?
Crafting is knowledge and accuracy.
So 74 comes 37 plus 15. 47. So 52 on the general crafting check.
Okay.
What were the others? Smithing.
Smithing. That is knowledge and might.
It's a malleable item.
Mm-hmm.
You said knowledge and might?
Yes.
So 43. 24 on the smithing. Set a forgery.
Yes.
What's forgery?
Knowledge and stealth.
Daily 1d2 divided by... Or 1d10 divided by 2 knowledge. Oh, and I got a 10. So that'll be 5.
Nice.
So that's 7. Nine. So it's 28. 60. 92 comes 46 on the forgery.
Okay.
Any other ones?
Depiction.
Depiction, which is?
Memory and accuracy. And you have particularly dealt with a micro spider before, so that would help in that regard. So you can add a plus 1d10 divided by 2 onto that.
Okay. So memory and what?
Accuracy.
Um, Oh, I can expel FP for accuracy checks. I'm going to do 3.
Okay.
First one's a 9 for a 4, so that brings up to 11. 9 for a 4 for 15. 2 for a 1, 16, plus my microspider. 7 for 3, so that's 19 to accuracy so far. Yep, 19. So 19 plus int and finesse. $61. 93 for 92 is also going to be a 46.
Okay.
Any other checks?
That should do just nicely. All right. So you make the 2 medallions and the signet ring, and they look almost as if on the medallions and signet as you had taken a microspider and managed to kill it without its legs curling up, shrink it down, and cast metal around it.
Okay, now to... So, umbral to the signets. Oh, good. Try that not on the floor. Is a 46.
Okay.
Does this count as plus to enchanting?
This would.
So 47.
All right. And the space below the microspider between the flat of the metal and the slight rising of the microspider appears, despite how you turn the light around to shine it into that gap, to remain pitch black.
And is it showing off any reflectees at all?
It is not.
Okay. Oh, so that part. Now, honesty on all 3. With the not wanting to pick it up because it's not mine, and the need to, at least on the ring, because chances are, well, yeah, on all 3 to be compelled to the ring itself, to be compelled to tell the gentleman that it gets attuned to, that they took it.
Okay.
Uh, 72. Plus Enchanting for 73 plus 2. Does this count as success to spells?
I'll say on this particular case, yes.
Okay. So 72, 73, 75.
All right. And as you hold it, it doesn't seem to really have much effect to you immediately until you briefly for a moment consider, well, what if I just simply didn't give it to who I made it for? And then you're like, but no, I meant it for this person. I should make sure that they get it.
Okay, so it's working.
And you kind of shake that off as you recall why you made it, and you're like, yep, it's already starting to have effect. It's just when you briefly had that fleeting thought that it started to take hold.
Now, specifically, the ring itself won't make the wearer an honest person. It just prevents those from trying to take it. Is
Correct.
the intention? Okay. And now I go about with the runes on the bellies of the spiders, and the bottom of the ring. So when he rubs, it'll just look like he's rubbing his hands. Instead of rubbing over the top, he'll be rubbing down here like he's wringing his hands or are fidgeting.
Mm-hmm.
Tying the ring to the signets, or the ring to the medallions, and giving a trigger word to it. So when said and moved across, it'll go to the farthest one. And with that, I anchor the ring to the two so that it has something to shuffle between. And this is the part I'm going to have to practice. It may not work the first time. So in doing that, 62 plus 1. Let's go 1 for 63.
All right. And do you at all take the time to specifically test them with the aid of anyone?
Oh yes. I don't. The teleportation is going to also take who the teleporter, because if he gifts this to somebody else, it becomes theirs. They become attuned to it once they attune to it. It will teleport only those that are friendly, that he deems allies.
Okay.
And yes, I definitely take the time to test this, and I don't exactly need, well, I could probably go bug Ven-Tul, since he's just playing with the cat and sparring. Or one of his clones. Probably take one of his clones for a bit.
Okay.
That way it doesn't affect his training as much. I set the medallions on the other sides of the town. Go grab him, and then try and see if this thing's working.
Okay. Okay. It takes your third attempt to make sure that they've attuned with it properly as they're trying to understand specifically what you're telling them that it is supposed to do. But once it does work, then you're able to immediately go to them.
Okay. So we have our little item set.
You
Okay. Time of day is it? How long has this taken me?
This has taken you a few hours. It is now, at least where you're at currently, the sun is just starting to set.
Well, I got a 3. I take that and the items back to the guy I made the anchor on.
Okay. Do you take it directly back to him, or do you take it to where you had previously left?
The anchor's on him.
Right, but you had made one in the town that was just in the market.
That's what I rolled the dice for.
Okay. Ah, what the hell are you doing back here?
Where am I?
You are on the other side of his stall at present, almost standing on his toes in the small little space there between all of his different boxes and such.
Let's say, that may need a little refinement. This seems to be a little bit too close for comfort.
You're telling me, get out from behind my desk.
Okay, I go out from behind the desk, and then I present him with his baubles.
What the hell is all this now?
I made you a little gift.
Narrows his eyes a little suspiciously looking at him. Gives a little whistle for a moment and pulls out a small jeweler's glass and looks at him close and says, "That's mighty fine work there. Well, thank you." And he reaches out, just his hands open to receive them.
These are now yours. And with that, I pass the ownership on to him.
Okay.
And then I explain to him what they are and what they do, and how they work, and how he can work them.
Missy, you just saved me a lot of headache as far as blindfolding and doubling back and forth within the desert to make sure we're not followed. This is a real big help. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have, like I said, I put some stuff on it. The medallions themselves shouldn't catch the light at all. So wherever you put them or wherever you need them to go, they shouldn't draw attention to themselves. Also, there's a little bit of extra security on there. You know, some people's wills are stronger than others, but you know, the wanderers in the night don't always tend to be strong-willed. There's a little bit of honesty in here. If somebody tries to touch them, that they'll feel compelled not to because they don't belong to them. Also, with the ring, with the added benefit that it does the same thing, but also compels the person to take it to the person that it is attuned to let them know that they have taken it and apologize.
And that'll be a mighty fine sight if it happens.
Now,
Not that
like
I'd hope it'd be stolen, but still.
I placed the runes to the ring on the bottom, so when you say your and I give them the little code word, the activation, that it'll just be like you're rubbing your hands together, fidgeting, something like that.
Uh, I know I've said thank you, but this words aren't enough. Tell you what, give me a moment here. He starts rummaging down in some of his crates behind the counter.
Micah, how much this whole set like worth?
That's a good question. As far as specifically knowing its value, that would be a little bit more difficult to calculate out since we still have to get those particular mechanics updated. But essentially, from what the old mechanics were, this would probably be worth about what you spent for the ore as a whole, if not slightly over.
Right. But the intrinsic value, once you figure out what it can do, slightly goes up.
Right. You know, the fact of the matter is that being what it is, it is a common enough thing that somebody who has wealth and imagination enough would hire somebody to make something like this. But clearly, from the fact that he's been just blindfolding people and wandering them around the desert a bit before taking them to the mine, he hadn't thought about that kind of thing.
And somebody like him wouldn't be expected to have something like that.
Right.
Right now, he's got what looks like a couple of dirty medallions and rings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he goes off to find something.
Okay. Let me pull that up. One moment. This is...
Did I get a good roll?
You did. I'm just trying to pull up what specifically it is. I found this box here, down in one of the mines, and there was nothing there before in that room. But when I came to it again, after having already cleared it out a bit, I found this box sitting here without any rhyme or reason. And I haven't opened it yet. But I took it to get appraised, and someone said that while it might be of use to me, it'd be better off given to another who'd give me something of value specifically useful to me in return. I think you might find more use for this. He hands over the box.
Interesting. Thank you, sir.
I still haven't figured out even how to open it, but there's something inside there. Here's some ceramic or something.
Well, I'll just have to see what it is eventually then. Thank you for the gift, sir.
Likewise.
Now, if you hear anything interesting going on around town or the surroundings, stuff out of the ordinary, you'll let me know, yeah?
Certainly.
And I give a big old broad smile and kind of like a little bow curtsy and tuck the box under my elbow and bid him farewell.
Okay. And he thanks you again and waves you off as you're heading out. He starts just organizing his things and hiding the medallions, putting on the ring for now, and just waiting for the opportunity as he looks up at the walls of the city as far as the sandstorm to finish dying down further so that he can go out and put one of them up.
I get it's still sandy, or it's still storming.
It's still storming. It's not nearly as strong, but you can still see bits of sand here and there coming over the tops of the walls. You figure that probably in another hour or two it may die down fully, or at least enough that you can head out into it.
What the hell do I want to do, Micah?
That would be your decision. You may certainly do quite a few different things. You have a mysterious box. You have a mysterious mirror. You have assorted other things.
Fuck the mirror. Fuck the mirror. Fuck the mirror. Fuck that mirror. Fuck mirrors that don't reflect the proper things. I'm not gonna go near that until I have to, if I have to. Plus, there's supposed to be a naughty lady that lives in the mirror that's Mordecai is supposed to fight. So, best if we don't mess with the mirror.
Make an observation check.
Fuck you, Micah. 44.
Very briefly, as you look through your goggles with them blocking the light enough that you aren't constantly in pain. You see the faintest after image when you look at a white surface of what you saw in the mirror.
I blink away. I go back to Waylon's camp. Now you're just fucking with me.
Oh no, this is just part of the fact that you've got a reflection of a false reflection with the goggles.
So I take my happy ass back to Waylon's.
Okay.
And I try and figure it out.
Okay. It appears to be a perfectly smooth piece of stone. But yet when you lift it, you can definitely hear something that sounds like ceramic inside it that is jostling.
It doesn't seem to open at all.
From just observation alone, I'm saying. Not from touching it or do anything else with it. All you see is just that it looks perfectly smooth.
Okay. I feel along and see if there's any abnormalities. Slight pressures to see if there's any buttons or if it'll slide at all. Turn, twist, pull, push, together.
Go ahead and make a reflex check.
Oh, that's going to suck. Guess what stat I didn't fucking put into? At least not as well as the others. One d10 advantage. Why you fall off the table? So that's a 4. Five, 6. $34.
Okay. As you push on a particular part, slowly tracing your fingers along it, you hear the very faintest of clicks, and you lift your hand up, just barely pulling it off before a small spike rose up and then retracted.
Look, Micah, I don't particularly want Pinhead's cube.
It's not the cube.
Just throwing that out there.
There is a purpose to every part of the things that can go on with this.
Do
you resume touching its surface?
I must distract myself from the reflections. Hold on. Now that I know it has that kind of stuff. So I activate Steel Mind, which will increase my will. Oh, no, that's not what I want. That's a one-turner. Reinforce Mind. Um, 18. So increase will, whiz, and intellect by 6. And then fortify mind for another one. That's for will. And something that I haven't thought to put up here yet, but would be something that I would know. Oh, Heart of the Eagle is going on for observation. 2, 4, 6, so that's 3, 3, 6, 9. For another. Oh shit, 9, 18. 18 observation. And something that I should have, but I don't, so I'm going to roll for it, to steal myself reflexively. Because, yeah. 73. Plus 2 for 75. To reflexes in general.
All right.
And I can continue to fuck with the cube after that.
As you fiddle with it more, you can see parts that very faintly slide outward and lines that are starting to appear in the box, and different parts where small little blades rise up and retract as the entire thing starts retracting fully back into itself before you manage to continue steps without it causing any problems and keeping in mind where the parts rose up. Eventually you find there's the thinnest little channel leading up and circling where you had originally seen the first spike rise.
Okay. I observe it.
Okay. You don't do anything at present other than just watch it with it as is.
Oh no, I'm looking at it. I'm examining it. I'm very wary that it does stuff. May fiddle with it, you know.
Okay. Everything that you try in an area that you have not located a trap at present helps it bring parts further out as you go around, but once it gets to a certain point, it seems there is no more surface that responds that is not trapped.
Open sesame. When all else fails.
The box parts slowly start retreating into it again.
I open it back up, same way. Do I know of anything like this in histories or stuff? Maybe in the library has anything to say about a relic like this or something?
You've heard of a lot of old puzzle boxes and other different artifacts that had their own means of protection. You haven't heard of one specifically that didn't open up after getting to a certain part, that didn't have a key phrase of some kind, unless it had something that had to be used, whether that be a physical key or blood or some particular type of fluid poured into something to make part of the internal mechanism start operating.
I prick my finger and put it in the hole of the thing at the end. I don't prick it with the needle itself, but I prick it and I drop it in the hole that's there after I get it open.
As you wait, the blood drips into the crevice and rolls down it into what looks to be just darkness, as you can't see deep enough. The box slowly closes. The crevice still open till the box is about to slide shut on it. And as it does, it flips open.
Woohoo! I solved me a puzzle box.
Inside, you see a single ceramic jar that is with a lid on top of it.
This better not be one of those stay cold jars that you tried to trick me with before. Preservation jars. Fuck it, I open the lid.
Inside, you see a shimmering sand, and there is a faint marking that appears on your wrist before fading lightly.
What's the marking look like?
The marking, you do not recognize the text.
I try and remember the text.
Okay. You go ahead and make I'll say a memory check with +2, as you're intent on remembering this despite not having encountered it before, because it's distinct enough that you can discern it compared to something else. You would have more if it were still present or reappearing, but it appears to have just faded.
It's going to be 39 at present.
Okay. You believe that you've remembered it well enough that you could try finding some reference somewhere, or depicting it and asking.
Yes, that is actually what I will do. I will write it down.
Okay. What are you writing it down onto?
I feel like I shouldn't write it down right now. I don't know if it will do anything. RP chance die to increase memory?
You know specifically that you can write it down. You've just not encountered the mark specifically.
Okay.
You know for sure you haven't encountered it. I said I would think that maybe you could do an RP chance die to increase memory specifically on similar to see if you can get yourself in the right direction, but you wouldn't have anything specifically that you would be tying it directly to.
Is the sand inside still shimmering?
The sand is still shimmering.
I pick up a little bit of the sand to see what kind of sand it is. I'll touch it.
The sand almost tingles your fingers for a moment, and you just rub it between your fingers for a moment, getting a feel. Aside from that, it feels like normal sand, but moving it one way along your fingers, it seems to be like the heat of the day, and the other way, the cold of night.
What color is it?
It is a light gray.
So neither black nor white, but giving me night warmth and darkness, so probably a mixture of the both.
Perhaps.
So gray sand, marking. Is there anything else? Feel around in the sand, see if there's anything else in the jar. Tingle, tingle, tingle.
Do you just simply reach in, or do you tip the sand at all?
At the moment, I reach in.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Takesy backsies.
Reaching inside and moving your hands around, you finally find a hard, still lump deep down near the bottom.
I pull the lump. Oh, I'm going to regret this.
Once it is pulled free from the sand, it takes 2 seconds before what at first looks to be a recreation of a scarab beetle suddenly twitches and then starts moving, spreading its elytra and flying around the room.
Hey, buddy. Who are you?
What am I doing here? Where is here? He's not home.
A kind gentleman I made some interesting things for. He
Who's
gave me.
you? Why does you speak?
My name is Arindel. All right, no. My name is Carmen.
You look weird.
Well, I play with myself a bit in that department.
Not home. No Zend. No Zend.
Where's home?
Janir.
What year is it?
What is a year?
Do you understand time?
Sunset. Moon rises.
Who are you? What's your name?
I am a scarab.
You don't have a particular name?
No time for a name.
At this point, I'm wondering why I can understand him. Um, I write out the text for him and ask him if he knows what that means.
Grarier.
Gralier?
Grarier.
Gralier.
Jeez bigs to ask.
And I keep repeating him as he says it.
You keep repeating what
He is
Scarab
saying that he is saying that the text says.
right. All he's saying is just Garaye.
Okay. Do you know what language that is, Sooty?
No. It is the name.
The name of what?
Garaye.
Is the name of what?
Garaye.
Okay. I open my scarab wings.
You scarab too?
Partially. In a way.
Use range scarab.
Honestly, I'm strange to everybody, it seems. Would you come with me, sweetie? I go off to find Ven-Tul, who read all the language books and all the fucking shit in the library. And I ask him if he's heard anything about this, if he knows what Guraye means, and if he's heard of anything about like a scarab like this in a box like this from Janir.
As it takes a little bit of time to explain and try to keep talking as there are interruptions almost immediately and questions. Ven-Tul wouldn't specifically know anything about a scarab being in a jar inside of a box, but the name Guraye does stir some memories as far as lore. And from what they remember, you did see Guraye briefly when the negotiations were going on with Nithalak, as Guraye was part of the Sejahal pantheon, though you had not known them specifically.
Oh, deep sigh. Who else is a part of the Sejahal pantheon? The Janir gods?
Shabel, Jandur, Saja, the Shrouded One are all part of it, as well as Guraye.
Fuck it. I beckon Guraye.
Okay. What do you say specifically?
Apparently, I found a scarab that is saying your name. He claims to be from Janir.
Where did you find it?
In a jar of gray sand, in a puzzle box, found in a mine out in Rydarkus.
There's a brief sound, almost like sand running across stone, as the marking on your wrist illuminates for the briefest of moments. Ah, I see. Well, enjoy the day you have remaining with the jar and its sand. Once the day is up, its power will fade, and it will vanish along with the box.
I don't even know what it does. What does it do?
Oh, but if I simply tell you, it won't be as much fun, will it? What's in it for me to tell you?
Fuck. Um. Well, I'm on a little mission that may help you in the future.
I don't tend to care too much about the sands of time. They shift so broadly.
Do you care about your followers here on Lenida?
My followers on Lenida are sparse, important, but not entirely impossible to replace, should it come to that.
Well, you can't replace followers from a world that's no longer here.
I certainly can from another world, though,
True.
or another realm, and all its worlds. Come now, girl. Certainly you can make a tempting offer.
Is there anything you need done?
I have need of little, I have want of much. What would you offer?
I draw my fuck. Fuck. Well, I'm going to be in Rydarkus for a while. I'm pretty sure that while I'm here and on my way and in my journeys, that I could handle some issues for you. And I draw my blade and I say, my particular allegiance has not forbade me from your pantheon.
Oh, you have the power of a few behind you. Ones I have not scented before. Curious.
When the gentleman asked about this, he said they told him that it wouldn't be much use to him, but it may be of use to somebody who gave to him something that would be of use to him. He had not figured out how to open it, and I gave him something important that was of a lot of use to him and not of any really use to me. And I managed to open it.
Hold still a moment.
I reluctantly hold still.
From underneath the door frame, slowly, sand rolls along the floor and rises into an androgynous form, towering over you slightly.
Ego and all, you know.
Long, slender fingers holding your jawline and tilting it back and forth, looking at you carefully. And you've been marked by another as well. More recently.
Something about a mirror?
That one. I suppose something I want that you could do for that information. A binding that I give you the information to aid you, and that you fulfill the task or face penalty, perhaps.
Well, if the power only lasts till the end of the night, what does the knowledge after the fact do me?
Its power would not be useless if forged. In its present state, it will vanish. But its powers are multiple, and some would be of use in something mutually beneficial, given your current status as prey.
What would the ideal form be?
That would depend on what you sought to use it for. But do not think me a simple conjurer of tricks. I would not give out such information without purpose. And I am offering you the opportunity to gain it, to do a favor for yourself and me at the same time. One which may very well save your life, if you're lucky enough.
Ask me what you would, and I will consult the book.
There is a being that lives beyond those mirrors. She who would rip you to shreds without any seeing her gaze. You are already marked, and it will not be long before she comes for you. I would have you infuriate her. She has spurred my attempted alliances. Would have you leave some of the sand where she may find it. Shatter the image of yourself bound in her home, and shatter the mirror that you return through, as it is more closely attuned than other reflections she may seek refuge in. It will not harm or kill her, only deter her and remove the mark from you. Though you'd best be wary if she should come again.
So I go into her world. I shatter me, the mirror, the image of me, and I go back through and I shatter the mirror I went through.
And leave some of the sand that she may know I had a part in it.
Reasonable enough as far as the requests I've gotten in the future, in the past.
I was about to say.
Does the scarab need to be in the sand for this to work?
It does not. It
Does he-
simply was within the sand that was combined. When its power took hold, it could not escape.
So he doesn't play a part in the sand at all?
In that it shows some of its power. That is the only part it holds.
Bum, 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 bum. So how do I go about getting into her place? And how do I go about finding myself once I'm there?
There are many ways of finding your route. One might be to let her take you when she thinks that you are giving in rather than hunting you down, taking her time to deal with you in person. But we must have an accord if I am to tell you more of the sand's power. Do we have an accord?
I consult. I straight up do this in front of him. I consult my book and see if any of this is going to affect anything in the future.
It specifically says prediction hazy. Information
Fuck your 8-ball.
inadequate.
Fuck your 8-ball.
Information inadequate for clear prediction. Unlikely. Small chance possible.
Well, very low risk. It seems like I may be able to do this for you.
May extend a hand out.
Deep sigh. Grasp hand.
Their other hand grabs hold, digging nails into your skin, making it bleed a little as they rub it, lick it off their fingers. We are of an accord. Any of the sand may be put in a circle around something in order to freeze it in time until the circle is broken, or to put something to sleep if thrown into its face. If it is turned into glass, concave, you will see into Janir, and convex, you will see into the bleed. If it is cast into boiling water, it will open a portal to Janir, and cast into frigid waters, it will open a portal to the bleed. You have 20 hours left before it will vanish. What you mark or make will remain, if not cast carelessly, and the jar will continue to fill until the time has passed.
How much sand do I need to cast into a boiling pot of boiling water?
A fistful.
Mike, how many fistfuls are in the jar?
I would say that it has probably about 5.
Are there any portals to Janir around Red Arcus?
There are, but that would have a different cost.
We're supposed to be wandering anyway. We might find a way in. So, well, time to get to work. I sheath my blade.
The sand drops to the floor and goes between the cracks, small as they may be, in the floorboards, disappearing.
You know how much I hate you right now?
Hmm?
I didn't want to do anything with her. Fuck that bitch. Oh.
I would think the attempt very painful.
Okay. Physiology of scarabs. Will he last around here? Does he need to be around sand?
You think that he would probably do well enough, but he would probably not really know what to do with some of the predators.
So he's better off in a desert environment somewhere.
Probably.
Oh, he's an experiment. 93 in an attempt to send somebody else to one of my anchor points.
Okay. And who specifically are you trying to send?
My new little buddy, Steve.
Steve the Scarab?
Steve the Scarab.
Alright. As they buzz around for a moment, they drift off in the air and start to fade away before disappearing entirely.
Now I go to that specific spot and see if he's there.
You can hear a buzzing, and it takes a little bit before they start to reappear. Evidently, taking longer to get there than you.
Something to work out. Are we in the market?
You are.
Is the sandstorm still going on?
The sandstorm seems like it is continuing to die down. You can hear it, but there isn't any sand that's blowing over the top of the wall at all.
I asked my new buddy Steve, how well are you in sandstorms?
Just bury yourself.
I move him to the spot outside of the city. I wait a little bit and then I go.
You go to Steve the Scarab?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm aware that there's going to be sand. I brace. I do what I need to do to not get a bunch of grit in the eye.
Well,
I have goggles on anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not my face and my mouth, you know, shit like that. You know, raise the cloak.
Okay. True to his word, when he arrives, Steve immediately flies down to the ground and starts burying himself in the sand.
Well, little buddy, it's not Janier, but it's close.
You hear the very faintest bzz before it fades entirely as he has covered himself with sand.
How's the storm going?
Storm is starting to die down. You can move around in it, but you don't want to face toward the wind itself. Otherwise, you will get stuff blowing on all sorts of places.
Okay. I go to Ryder.
Okay.
And seeing as the fact that I show up right in front of people's toes, I try and space it out a little bit.
Okay. Go ahead and make an accuracy check.
$44.
Okay. You managed to avoid ending up on Ryder's toes. Make a reflex check, however.
$30. Oh. I still have that reactive thing going from before. So 30 plus whatever that is.
Okay. As you realize where you did end up, you quickly roll off of Bill's back before the ethereal flames flare up and Bill rears up, hooves in the air. Ryder just kind of gives you this look as you've disturbed Bill, who he was trying to keep calm as he sipped his what you got coffee and was trying to soothe the savage beast.
As it were. Come on, we gotta go. Ooh. You've got sand control. I need you to take this gray sand and make it into a spyglass. Specifically, a convex-concave dual. For kind of like a magnifying glass. You know what I'm talking about? It's concave on one and convex on the other. So if you were to flip it around, it would see into alternate ones. Would that work?
What you talking about now, Carmen?
Specifically to you, Micah.
Right.
That would work, right?
That should work.
Okay. Apparently I got some sand that lets me see into Janier as well as the bleed.
Oh. Why would you want to do that?
Well, Janier, I don't really have a whole lot of interest in. But the bleed may I think we have a need for that.
Oh, right. Eventually, I suppose. I'll give it a shot. Cracks his knuckles. Well, where's the sand?
So I open up the thingy and I pull out a fistful of sand for him.
Okay.
Is that one of those scarabs that turn into one of those giant scarabs?
You may certainly find out.
In 30 years when it's grown to be an adult? Steve, the scarab, king of the desert.
As Ryder works on it a bit, it takes some time, but after a bit of manipulating it and warping it slightly to get it at the right angles and such, it hands it over, and after looking through part of it and immediately just handing it over.
I check out.
Okay. Which side?
Both.
Okay.
Janir first. Potentially less scary.
You see a gigantic maw opening wide, moving straight toward you, mouth tendrils extended and wriggling around. It passes by and you start seeing part of the innards of this, which continues on and on and on if you continue to look at it from that side.
Sure, why not?
How long do you look at it?
Till I see something else.
Okay. After 20 minutes of seeing the interior of this creature as it moved along, you eventually just see dunes of sand and this assortment of arachnid and other desert life about. In the very far distance, looks like a speck. You see a shape that is rising up into the sky. And there is this flame that came forth from the top of it. And a blast shot off into the sky in the distance. Shortly, another one returning and coming and hitting that with a different color flame.
Huh. Real quick while I'm watching this, I turn around to see the snake thing that just passed.
You can see it wriggling off, and it's still relatively close. And looking in the distance, you can see that its form stretches on for what looks like half a mile.
I go, huh. And then I go back to watching the light show a little bit. Well, turn it around. Let's see the other side.
As you look, you see the edge of a bubble. Black. On the outside, just black sand and purple stones rising from it. And on the inside, what looks like melting flesh and screaming skeletal faces as someone is cowering in the center.
I show Marty and see if it looks familiar.
Now, why would you show me something like that?
Oh, I was just wondering if you knew them.
What, like everybody who's been into the bleed has known each other?
Well, you were in there for a while.
Yes, and like I told you, it took how long of me being in there before I realized I was in a nightmare when you came in?
Probably a little bit.
Right.
Oh, well, this will come in useful later. And I create a little kind of drawstring sack for the new little spyglass, and I give it to Ryder. We can use this later. Why don't you hang on to this?
Right. Just don't blame me if something happens to it.
Look, you're the one who needs it.
Right, but I mean, if I were to have someone attack me and it got smashed or anything.
Well, then I suggest you and your excellent crafting skills should build a nice padded box for it. And reinforce it.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
It's nice little cushy inside, a wooden outside with a reinforced metal something or other. Right? You're good at that.
Right. I'll work on that.
Well, Steven Scarab's in the desert. He's got his spyglass. He said freezing water would take open a portal to where?
The bleed.
And boiling water would take it to Janir.
Correct.
What else did he said I could make with it? I got the spyglass. I got the portals. There was the stasis, and there was the sleep, and what else?
That was specifically what they said.
You know what? I'm going to go with he didn't tell me everything. And so I am going to go and ask Ryder to help me make a dagger using this sand, making sure so there's 5. We used 1 fistful for that, leaving 4.
Do you check the jar?
I checked the jar.
The jar is full.
5 fistfuls. Yay! For non-wasteful stuff. So you know how you use coal with iron for steel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to use the sand to do the same thing.
With iron?
Yes. Hoping to pass on the magical effects of the sand into the blade, much the way Marty dicks with a lot of shit he makes.
Okay. Are you having Gale help with that, or just doing it on
Yes.
your own?
Yes. And I tell him to throw in some ethereal with that as well. Infuse it with the ethereal. And we're going to try and make a sword out of this little thingy. Probably in the shape of a falchion. You know, keep it those types of weapon era theme things.
Okay. All right. And after a while of working together on it, you managed to forge this falchion, which has this sort of wispy, faint patterning along its edge with this softest shimmer from the sand mixed into the blade. It's very light, but on testing it, it cuts easily enough.
I boil some water and I touch the blade to the water, hoping it passed on kind of a little bit of its properties. And I figure this will draw some of the power from the blade, and the blade will have to be charged and whatnot every so often. But kind of, he said anything we make from the sand will endure. So anything that's now in this blade will also stay, but that doesn't mean that, the power portion of it stays as potent. We'll have to, recharge it every now and then. Seems reasonable enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There is a swirling portal that you see as you stick the blade in.
Okay. So I stick it out and I look at Ryder and I say, hot for Janir, boiling for Janir, freezing for the bleed.
Okay.
So if and when we do want to get in there, we can use the spyglass to scout the area, and then we can get some freezing water or boiling water, whichever way we want to go, and open a portal there.
But how do you know that's where it leads after what it was we did with it?
We're in the foundry area where I've got my thing, right?
Correct.
Time to take it for a test drive. Grab the spyglass, look in a direction, look all around, commit that to memory, give it back to Gale, go through the portal.
Okay.
Arendel's first time engineer.
Specifically, as you were using just boiling water to test it, are you pouring the water onto something that you can fit into?
That seems like a better idea. Instead of trying to squeeze myself into the pot.
Okay. So what do you spread it on? You're in the foundry area.
A large flat surface.
Okay. Foundry floor is fairly flat.
Well, it's something that is portable as well, so that I can lift up and not be going into the floor.
Okay.
I don't know if orientation has any play in this.
Okay. So you find the wheelbarrow used for carting logs into there, or you pour the boiling water into it. Once you have enough of it, you stick the blade in. Portal appears.
I go through.
As you
I check around with the spyglass, and then I hand the spyglass off, and then I go through.
As you step through, you feel this lightness and a glow about yourself. Very distantly, but in the clear direction of where you see a portal that's faintly shimmering on the ground. Arindel? Or Carmen? You okay? Carmen?
Yeah.
Diana's gonna kill me.
Hold on! I look around. Does the area look like I saw through the spyglass?
The area does. However, as you start looking around, you feel a sudden slap.
Okay.
Wake up, damn it!
I wake up.
Okay. As you drift back through the portal, you see Gale standing there with your body, feet in the water, rest of you fallen backward, unconscious, looking like you've hit your head, as he was not expecting that. And you go through him, causing him to shudder suddenly and look behind him as you re-enter your body with a massive headache and a jaw that just feels like you've been slapped hard.
Oh. Well, let's try this again. Let's get a bathtub. Don't let me fall. And yes, we don't go out of the same spot as the other place, but with a small caveat, I think astral projection, the full body didn't go.
Oh. What does that mean?
It sort of works.
Well, either it does or it doesn't. What do you mean, Carmen?
Well, it works. There's just some side effects. Let's go get some more boiling water. And this time I throw it into a bath basin. Now, catch me when I fall.
Okay.
I touch the blade to it and I get into the water.
Once again, you see this glow around yourself. You hear Gale cuss a moment. You don't feel a slap to your cheek, but you can hear him talking. Sounds a bit muffled and distant, but you can tell the direction's in the direction of the portal.
Okay, so now, while I'm here, I create a checkpoint.
Okay.
I try really hard to create a checkpoint. Like I said, this is experimentation here. And I use one of the ones that aren't tied to, because I have two abilities that do this. And I'm using the the one where people have choices to come.
Okay. Do you test it after returning?
Yep.
Okay. As you return back to your body, slumped in the water as its power is fading. Gale is there, helping you try to get out of the tub. Do you tell him what you're doing before you try it?
Nope. I actually. Nope.
Okay. You find yourself glowing again. Return to where you were. You hear a hard thump and have a massive headache as you hear Gale's distant, muffled voice. Carmen? Carmen? What the hell did you do this time? Looking around, you do not see the portal there, though you still hear the voice from the direction it had come from.
Okay, so now first I try and will my body here.
Okay. And what was your result from that attempt?
Oh, I guess I'm rolling for that.
Since it is something you've never tried before, yes. I was thinking you were looking something up.
Oh no, I was
waiting
for can we actually do that? Well, that's crit. That's another crit. Plus 36. So 90, 126.
Okay. Suddenly the voice speaking to you cuts off mid-sentence.
Does my body show up, or do I not feel weightless anymore?
You do not see a glowing light around you.
I make a proper checkpoint using the one that I originally did now in my current form.
Okay.
Then I go back and I find Gale. Or Ryder.
About done scaring me half to death.
I'm not sure. And I grab onto his shoulder. And we go.
Don't do that.
I try and pick up some sand.
Sand falls through your fingers, but not through your palm.
So it's acting like real sand.
Yes.
Okay. Well, takes a little finagling, but we can get this to work. Evidently, it sends me the blade itself will send me in an astral form, and then I can will my body here. I can set a checkpoint and either use that as a astral projection spot where I can float around, or I can will my body here and make a proper checkpoint, and to which we can get in. That being said, we may be able to get into the bleed where we need to get into the bleed at now. I figured Janir was the better place to experiment with. Let's get out of here before we get eaten by a mile-long worm. And we take ourselves back.
And Gale just kind of flinches and spins around a bit as he pushes away from you a bit after arriving back in the foundry. Managing to succeed on his stomach check.
Well, this is handy. And I set it down next to the foundry, inside the, like, what would be the blacksmith hut / place that would originally have been there. I don't think there's anybody coming to town anytime soon. As far as everybody else knows, this place is a no-go zone at this point. I'm assuming. Is this correct?
I missed part of that with your dice slamming.
The people that know of the ruins think of it as a no-go zone, right?
You mean where the mirror is?
No. Where Wayland's ruins are.
Ah, okay. Like I said before, they're considering the fact that it happened as quickly as it did, you would have expected to see more types of metal at the foundry.
No, Micah. People, wanderers, people that are familiar with the area of Wayland's thing, think of it as a no-go zone for, like, just going there.
Right, as I was saying, assorted things here and there in the village seem to imply, considering the fact that, from what you understand, it got destroyed very quickly, people didn't have time to flee with their valuables. Over the 1500 years, people have gone into the village and pilfered things. But considering they haven't taken everything, it's unlikely that anybody wanted to stay and take the time to go through the entire thing. Everybody thinks that it's haunted as shit, but it's not like, for example, it's a dragon horde or something like that.
While it might have had something...
If you stay away from Wayland, people are like, you can go ahead and poke around. Just keep an eye out for the freaky skeletal goblin.
But it's been in its condition for so long that people don't have an interest in it anymore because there's not supposed to be anything there anymore that's of value.
Right. It doesn't appear that there's much. Like I said, when you guys first arrived in the past, there was a caravan that was overturned that had a paper that listed the date. within a few days of when you had actually arrived, because it looked like the damage was too recent to be old.
Okay.
That's how you knew you were 30 years in the past instead of 10. So people are going through the area, but nobody's fixated on the village recently because of the fact that it's mostly been picked over. They figure there's nothing else worth getting.
In that case, I put this particular bauble in Waylon's house.
Okay. The sword specifically, you mean?
Yes. I don't want to lose it, and I don't really have any use for it right now.
Okay.
Actually, two things to do before I do that. I tell the rider to stand still, and then I draw a circle or I take the tip of it and I do a circle around him around his perimeter. Because I know of what the sand did, but I don't know how much of it is still there.
Okay. As you're doing that, he's just looking at you, slowly turning his head. What kind of stupid thing are you? And he just stops in mid-sentence as you complete the circle.
Okay, I break the circle.
Doing there? What? Huh?
That's handy. I tap his forehead with the flat of the blade. Hold still. I'm not cutting you. I promise.
Okay. He just stands there, raising a brow. Tap. 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 Is there some kind of point to this?
I try and charge the blade with a little bit of energy, just in case, it's run out, and then I tap him again. Not a whole lot. I don't want to overwhelm it, just to give, just in case the energy's run out a little bit. Kill the batteries. And then I tap him on his head again.
Tap. Tap. Would you stop that? Tap.
Okay. Well, we got the portals, and we got the stasis. I think that's a good... Yeah. I checked the jar. I wasn't wasteful.
Jar is full.
Sweet. I'm leaving behind all sorts of relics. Okay, so yeah, now I leave this blade in Waylon's house.
Okay.
And now it's time to get on with fucking what Sandman wants me to do. So now, did he explain how I was supposed to find myself in there to shatter myself?
There are multiple different ways to do it. One of the easiest ways might just simply to go near it and let yourself be taken.
Okay.
And you return to Rhin?
Yep, I return to Rhin and I go to the burned out place and when I see the stupid fucking reflection of myself, I grit my teeth and I go over and I deep sigh and I let go and I succumb.
Okay. You see yourself prone on the ground, facing away from the mirror. A long scratch along your back, through your clothing and into the skin.
Okay. I walk towards the mirror and I let myself be taken. Or first, I actually try and go through the mirror. Like, not walk like dead face, but, reach and feel and see if I can go through.
The mirror seems solid.
Okay, it's at this point I let myself be taken.
You just stand in front of the mirror waiting?
I say, well, it's an inevitable anyway, I guess.
Okay.
And then I wait a couple and that's just take me.
Minutes pass. You see another line of blood forming on the back of the U that's on the ground.
I look around.
Okay. As you turn your gaze away from it, you feel a sudden slashing across your back. Though your attire is not torn, it feels as if there's blood welling out underneath it.
Okay. I turn back to the mirror.
For the very faintest moment, you see a woman in white that the edges are all covered in dust and dirt. Long black claws covered in blood, and blood red hair covering their face before they fade from view.
He never told me how to get in.
He did not.
He said one of the easiest ways would probably be to let her take me, but she's not taking me. She's feeding off my stupid psychic energy from inside the fucking glass.
Possibly.
I keep facing the mirror and I back up a good 10, 20 feet.
Okay.
I see if my body's on the ground.
The body's still on the ground, and you can see the movement of the ribs. Even though it's turned away from you, you can tell that the chest is rising and falling slowly. From barely outside the frame of the mirror, in come two clawed hands, gripping hold of your neck, digging their claws into it for quickly turning and snapping it, pulling back again. The breathing ceased. While your neck is not twisted, there are marks on it that are bleeding.
But did I ever find out her name?
No.
But, lady, I know you're there. Why are you trying to hide? No response.
She doesn't come into view. The corpse still lies there, its head twisted back, eyes open, glazed.
I break the mirror.
What do you break it with?
Apex blade.
Interesting. Okay. As you pull out and reach to slash down. Suddenly her figure appears and grabs hold of your wrist, squeezing it like an iron press, claws digging into your flesh as her hand is reaching out of the mirror.
Is that all that's going on right now?
At present.
Hello, mistress.
It's a slight raise of the head, looking back and forth. Say my name.
What did Mordecai call her?
A woman within the mirror.
Mistress, I only... there's no other reference that I've ever read or anything on this lady.
You may make a memory check with severe disadvantage to try and see if you can recall, since specifically lore about mirrors and people within them is a bit rarer.
$28.
Okay. Is that with the minus 2d10?
That is. I only had minus 6.
Okay.
I've got a +1 and a minus 6.
You faintly recall a name chanted 3 times into a mirror.
And what was the name?
Bloody Mary.
So I do the whole little thing, the Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary? Bloody Mary.
It feels cold. Colder than ice. Rasping in your throat as you are pulled into the mirror zone with the force of just one of her hands now. With such a swiftness that she turns and your body goes sailing for 200 feet before hitting and skidding.
Can I attempt to blink and right myself? I may certainly try.
You may certainly try. What's the check on blink specifically?
Um, Wisdom.
Make an observation check specifically.
At this point, 54, 62, 68.
Okay. Minus 2d10.
It is now 51. 52.
Okay. As you try to right yourself, blinking, you find yourself managing to do it, but almost teetering on your foot for a moment as looking around, every single surface you see is simultaneously a reflection of yourself repeating, reflected off of everything else, and a glimpse here and there of other reflective surfaces and what would be visible from behind them. You come to feed me willingly. My sweet.
Do I see my mangled my mangled self anywhere?
You see multiple mangled versions of yourself.
Do I feel the pull of magic here?
What source?
Wild.
No.
Psionic.
You feel definitely there is psionic ambient energy all around you. And strongly coming from her.
Do I see where she pulled me in from?
You see it, but you see it also reflected on many surfaces, and many surfaces reflected on it.
I asked her, what were you doing with my body there on the floor?
Feeding.
I asked her, why did you mark me in particular?
You stared long enough and looked back again.
I was keeping an eye out for passerbys, and then something caught my eye and made me return my gaze. I saw my body on the floor, much as it was before.
Fair. Rhyming.
Not one for the rhymes, I take it.
Nasty. Horrible.
Not nasty, nasty, tricksy little rhymes. He's Where did you put my body in here?
Won't it be fun to find out? Dear sweet thing. Soon. She steps backward. Not through the one she threw you, but turning slightly and going out a mirror. And appearing in a different one. And a different one. Cackling as she moved around in different directions.
Like, I'm like worms crawling, creeped out a little bit, but at the same time, I've dealt with worse than this. You know?
And as you look around at the multitude of reflections and distorted versions of yourself and multitude of locations, we will end the session off for tonight.
What?
Any final words for our listening audience?
This is a shitty place to leave it off when we're trying to pick it up with other people later.
Well, with those wonderful words of wisdom, we shall leave the session off. We should have another one with more people, hopefully very soon, for this campaign.
Hopefully Thursday.
Hopefully. And after that, moving on to Stalwart March and Crimson Tide, and then back to this again. Catch you all on the flip side. Have a good night.